All right. How are you today, Yohamin?
Doing fine, thank you.
Perfect. It's a pleasure for me. You are welcome to Pedropolis podcast. And it's a pleasure for me, like I was just saying later on, to be able to interview you today. And it has
My
been a thing that
pleasure.
I've been looking forward to ever since the day I met you, due to our discussions and everything, and getting to know you better these few months has
Yes,
been a great thing and a thing of an honor for me as well. I like your work ethics, your determination, and your go-getter attitude, which is something that is not easy to get back these days. So I really
yes.
appreciate you for all of that. And above all, you are a
Thanks for
feminist.
yes,
That
I am.
and that's something kind of crazy. Being black, Italian, and a feminist, I have a lot of curiosity in my mind, and I'm happy that we are doing this. And it's going to be a great occasion, both for myself and my followers, our viewers, to be able to get to know not only who is Yohamin Teshome Kumbi, but as well getting to know what it is like in the mind of a black feminist, an African descent living in Europe that boldly claim to be a feminist. I would like to know a lot about you, and I'm just using this occasion to really thank you for giving me this opportunity because it's not easy. I don't want to take it for granted at all. And to set the ball rolling for my viewers and who may not know you, who exactly is
Yes.
Yohamin Teshome Kumbi?
Who am I? Oh,
Yeah,
that's a very difficult question. Not it's not simply answerable. Firstly, because I'm a woman, and as you know, women are complex. We are not
good.
simple, very, very simple. We have many, many layers. So,
I'm glad that you said that yourself.
thank you. It's very true. It's very, very
Yeah,
true, generally
that's
speaking. And
of
yes, so how do I present myself? Okay, my name is Yohamin Teshome, and I live in Milan. I was born in Eritrea, and then I grew up in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and then I came to Italy starting from my university. I did here my university studies, and so it's been almost 20 years now here.
that's
That
that's a
is
lovely
Milanese.
one. That's a lovely one. I well, for those that may
So,
not know you as well, you are not only someone living here in Italy, you've over the years worked with a lot of both local and international organizations. You are officially a member of UNIRE as well, an association of refugees that live here in Italy that are into advocacy, which myself is a member as well. And you have an association called La Mia Parte. The name
yes.
alone is very interesting. What do you exactly do with La Mia Parte?
So, La Mia Parte, we chose the name uh, because it means I do my part, my part. So, I do my little
Okay.
part because I think that if each one of us does the little part for the community, many, many
Mm-hmm.
things could change. The whole world could change if all of us did our little part. So, that's what we
Yeah.
try to do. It's an association where the board, they basically, um, the management is all women. We are so three women,
Mm-hmm.
Ethiopian and Eritrean. So it's women, young, and of migrant with migrant and refugee background. That's our association's uh,
Most
management.
most
So
of
that's one
them.
thing we like. Yes, because we founded it because mostly on migrant and refugee issues work people who've never been migrants or refugees, so they have
Mm-hmm.
the they learned all the knowledge that you learn from a master's degree, from university degree or working, but they don't have the lived experience. And
Yes.
we think that for the best, it should be lived experience and learned experience. Because just because you are a refugee, it doesn't mean that you can have an association and do a great project. And but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, just because you studied migration at university is not enough to understand the multicultural layers and the multiple layers also of being a
Yeah.
migrant or a refugee. mm, Brings with it, living in a new country, adjusting to a new way of life, adjusting to new works, what it means also as even as work ethics. So mm, it's very, very different. Also, the social life is different. So
Mm-hmm.
we think that these people should be at the center. Migrants and refugees should be at the center of the analysis, research, and decision making. That's why we founded this association.
Complimenti, like they say in Italy. Complimenti veramente. That's a very
Grazie,
lovely one.
grazie Pedro.
That's a very
Yes,
lovely
uh,
one. Yeah.
me myself, I had Uh, I was born in Eritrea, as I told you, when I was 9 years old. There was war in Eritrea and Ethiopia, and there was also the independence of Eritrea because they were fighting to be independent. So when Eritrea
Yeah.
won, I was also there. So I was also celebrating in Eritrea. But then my family was of origin of Ethiopia, so we had to leave and go to Addis Ababa. So I had to
Okay.
change totally country. So I know what it means to leave a place, to live in work, because the last year we were living in a city that was in work, and to live
Mm-hmm.
without nothing in the country, and create yourself a new life, which
From
I
the
did again
scratch
in
again,
this
like they
country.
would say.
Yeah,
Starting afresh from the scratch. Thank you so much for, giving us opening a little window into your personal life for myself and our viewers. It's really very, very important because nothing stops me from going into the topic of the day, but I felt it is important that at least whoever is listening to us get to know exactly at least the biography of the person talking. When hearing
yes,
it
of
from
course,
your own mouth is very, very important as well. So
yes,
you migrated from your country Eritrea to Italy when you were 9 years old. You've grown up today, and I will consider you, apart from your background, majority of your experience has been here in Europe. Not only are you a migrant, you are a black person, and you boldly claim that you are a woman as well. I'm just playing the devil's advocate here because I know, like you said
yes,
earlier on, there could be a lot of layers to this thing. So being able
of
to
course,
identify as a woman is something that is important as well in this day and age. Not only are you
of
that,
course.
you are black as well, an African descent, and above all else, you are a feminist. So my question, therefore, is what exactly is feminism? What makes one a feminist?
Okay. So, well, thank you, Pedro. Well, feminism is a movement born for women's rights. It's a women that stated that women's rights are human rights. Women are human beings, so they should also have the same rights as men. Well, we said in 2024, it seems obvious, but back then it was not. It was not. Because women could not vote, women could not work. And we are talking about Europe. So uh, that's why women decided to fight for their rights, and they called for social, cultural, economical, political equality between the sexes. Um, so they wanted to work, they wanted to vote, they wanted to decide, on their lives. If I do not want to get married, I don't want to get married. This is one, for example. Because back then, you were as a woman, being married was only
Mm-hmm.
your almost your only choice. Otherwise, for example, you can be a nun, or you can go to a monastery, or you can work as a maid in somebody who is rich. You know, so
Okay.
these things that seem obvious to us now in Europe, they were not back then. That's why this movement was born. And of course, this movement has changed a lot from then to now. They gained the suffrage, so the right to vote, the right to work, um, the right to decide on your life. These are really great conquers, I think, and I also believe in that. So even though it's born in Europe as feminism as an idea, I believe that women's rights are human rights, and women should also enjoy equal rights as men. So that is why I am a feminist.
Thank you so very much. You know, you in your explanation of what feminism is all about, you said you made some emphasis concerning the right of being able to vote, the right to decide one's direction in life. Like if you want to get married, it should be a choice that you made as a woman on your own, not being coerced or being forced to go into that direction, either forced or indirectly forced to go into that direction. These things are very, very lovely. And you made mention of the fact as well that women's rights are humans' rights, which sound
Yes,
very interesting to me. But if I have to look back into where I am coming from, and our discussion today, for argument's sake, has to do with people of African descent in diaspora, because
yes,
I'm really curious to know how can a woman, a black, an Italian for that matter, be a feminist, knowing the story of our experience back home. Just like you said earlier on, when I believe when there was war in Eritrea, they were not making any distinction of who is a man and who is a woman in terms of denying the rights to those that were in that circumstances. So that begs the question, even listening to your explanation as well, at a point in time, it was important that women fight for this right. Then we are now in 2024. Like you yourself said, some things are very obvious. I am in a confusion personally as a man and being of an African descent living here in Europe. I am confused and curious to know what exactly are those rights that I have that you do not have as a woman. That is one curiosity of that in my mind. And secondly, there is another aspect that being an African, knowing our story, worries me personally in my mind, in the sense that you said that this idea was birthed in Europe, but you genuinely believe it will be helpful or is helpful to every woman around the world. But you, I mean, in less than 17 years ago, my country was still under colonialism.
yes,
And in colonialism, we were all under the British colony. There was no
yes,
clear distinction between how the colonialists treated the men in my country better than the women. We don't have any evidence of such from where I'm coming from. So I am asking this question specifically as an African, knowing for
yes,
fact how the story of my country was even up to about 64 years ago, because we actually got independence as Nigerian. I'm being specific here, which is the
yes,
situation of most African countries. Up to about 64 years
of course,
ago, we were under colony. We couldn't even move, and everybody was equal as soon as the colonial masters are concerned. So, feminism, don't you think is another European or colonialist idea, especially taking into consideration women were able to vote in Europe, this universal suffrage right for women and everything. Meanwhile, both women and men in my country could vote. They don't even have their country of their they don't even have a country of their own, not more or less to talk about holding an election to decide their future and everything. So
Of course.
can one, as an African, how do I differentiate between this idea being a colonialist idea, another scam, another idea just to govern my life? Is this really something for me? The idea of
That's a great question.
feminism?
Yeah,
I'm
that is a
curious.
great question. Yeah. This, yeah, it's a great question. Is this for me? It's, I think this is a question that every woman of African descent could ask and should ask. And the questions you made sense. So, well, I'll go back to the start. I said women's rights are human rights, and human rights are universal. So, as for many, many other things, many other rights that are, in the narrative are
Mhm.
European or Western ideas,
Yes.
I believe that they are universal. Human rights is universal. It's not a Western idea. It may be that history has made it such that in those years it was the West pushing those ideas forward, especially after the Second World War. The new world order was done this way. But it doesn't mean that human rights are a Western idea. They are universal. Same goes for women's rights. So, what you say, it's very interesting because it has already happened, the questions, that even non-white women, because feminism was
Mhm.
it was called just feminism. Then it was called classic feminism. But then in the 60s, there was the second wave that spoke about the sexuality of, women, domestic violence, reproductive rights. So there was a second wave that revised the first wave, and it was middle class women. It was white middle class women. So it was
Okay.
the second wave was led by white middle class women. What does it mean? What did this bring? It proved that feminism uh, did not become really uh, internationally known as an international movement. It was brought forward by these people. So other women were receiving feminism as an idea that came from the West, as a Western idea. But for me
Yes.
personally, the way I live it, as everything in my life that I take saying, because I am a bit multicultural as a person. From every culture, I see what's good and what's bad. So, for example, talking about feminism, there is this new wave now. It's called intersectional feminism.
Okay.
So it means that this feminism says feminism should be only seen as white people see it. Feminism should also include women, women who are black women who are Arab women who are from other ethnic minority groups. Why was this said? Because uh, many activities, many narratives that feminist women were bringing forward
Mhm.
indirectly had this paternalistic, colonialistic way of looking at other women, women who were not Western. And
Yes.
without knowing exactly the cultural relevance of certain decisions or attitudes of women who were not white, they were judging and they were saying this should not happen. So those other women were like, okay, we also want our rights because women's rights are human rights. I receive it. So they also believe they don't think that they don't have rights, but they say, please listen to us too. Eh, on this, I can speak. For example, I can give you an example. Um, when like African dances,
Mhm.
you have to move
Yes.
your waist, you have to move your behind, and they see this and they say, oh, and that's the culture. There's nothing vulgar about it. But for a
Yes.
typical feminist woman from the first wave, who
Mhm.
that's like you are putting your sexuality out there from the classical feminist point of view. And that is not good. Why is that? That is because the first feminist women, they had to delete their sexual part, their sensuality, their way of being a bit feminine. They had to delete it
Mhm.
to show to other men that they were not only sexual beings; they were also people who could think, people who could do, people who could do sports. So not because they didn't have it, but to show to men that they were not only that, they were, if you remember, they would even dress more manly, you know, they would dress more manly, they would not put makeup, they would cut their hair. So all this was done because there was a wall and they needed to break it. When you need to break a wall, you cannot knock. So what they did back then could have been good for them because then they need to work. But then that attitude now should change because the wall has been broken down. The first thing was done. They can work and they can walk. That being said, the second wave said we want to live our sexuality normally. We don't want to be like covering our sexuality as women just because we are feminists. And that's the second wave. In fact, also, you know, uh, the 90s also, many things changed because in the 90s, if you remember the Destiny's Child, Beyonce
Mm.
and the Destiny's Child, and
Mhm.
other
Mhm.
singers were talking about they were not dressing as men, they were dressing in a feminine way, but they were saying, I can do it, independent woman. The song said, I'm a woman, I can do it, I am independent, still looking like a woman, like in a feminine way, I want to say. Not that there is only way to. So this is to say that uh, many people are angry. Many people who are not white are angry with feminism, with the classical feminism, because it does not consider their particularities. That there are many cultures. The world has many cultures. So feminism should not be applied only by your way. Otherwise, it's a paternalistic way. Even here in Italy, there are some feminists who say, "Why are these girls dressing with shorts?" Some cultures they really dress very short
Yes.
um, dresses, and it's their culture. So let them be, but tell this woman to get educated. If she wants to pursue a job, to go for it, to protect herself, to
Mhm.
protect herself, her dignity, her body, to to cherish herself. But then the
Yes.
decision of what she does is hers. I'll tell you the contrary of this paradigm. The contrary is the same feminists who have fought saying my body is mine because one of the fights that went on in the 60s, 70s is my body is mine. It was about abortion. Women could abort or could not abort. They were saying my body is mine. Do not decide on what I do with my body. So they were saying a woman can do what she wants with her body. The same people are now saying women should dress like this, women should not dress like this. The same people who are the classical white feminists who say, when is it when a woman gets raped, she has to explain what she was wearing. That should not be an issue, what she's wearing, because it's the person who rapes you who's responsible for his act, not what you are wearing. So she should be free.
Mhm.
The same people now about Arab women who wear the hijab, they're saying, why do they wear that? They shouldn't wear that because it's oppression. So I'm like, it's their culture. If they want to wear it, they should wear it. If a woman does not want to wear it, she should not wear it. But it does not have to be us telling people what to wear or not to wear. Even I think it is in France, they had a huge discussion about this hijabs, saying they should wear it
Yeah.
in public, they should not wear it in public. So you cannot talk about uh, freedom and then say the freedom should be had the way you want, the white way. No, the freedom should be had with everyone's. particularity, cultural, religious differences, respecting them. For me, equality does not mean that we have all to look alike. It means that we have to have equal opportunity in our differences.
That's so true. Thank you so very much for your answer. And listening to you is all the points that you touch and everything is baffling, really, to believe that first of all the waves and series of feminism that has taken place in the world, and
Yes,
describing the first, second, third wave, there is a huge contradiction even in the way they see things themselves from the very things that you explained actually. And considering the things the way you describe it, I am curious to know, even with the way things stand today. Let's take the last example you just gave, the debate in the French society, if people should go with their hijab or not in public places and everything. France,
yes,
in the Western context, is recognized as one of the most liberal society, where they talk about
yes.
liberté, égalité, and I don't remember the last one that they
Fraternité,
cite
yes,
fraternity. They always cite those things as one of the foundation as one of the foundational society as far as freedom is concerned in Western world. And I make
yes,
emphasis to it about being Western world because I, for one, maybe perhaps because I'm an African, I don't believe that a
yes.
society that really believe in liberty, freedom, and fraternity will go out to colonize other parts of the world. This is my opinion,
Of
and
course
I
not.
really don't believe that a free society do that. However, considering the way things in one of the most liberal society in Western world that has to do with hijab and everything, do you think with the way things stands today, we have evidence to prove that feminism is of any benefit to any woman out there outside of the Western world? Have there been as an African woman, even in diaspora, do we have evidence to pinpoint and present to ourselves and say it is because of feminism that this dear sister from Malawi has been able to do this or that?
Oh, thank you. Now that's an interesting question. Well, I'll start talking about in general. I will not talk about feminism just, but women's rights. That's well, countries where women's rights are respected and the gender gap is lower, even the GDP is better. So this has been proved. Also, countries that educate their women have countries with better life qualities. That is because educated women then they will get better jobs, and the money they get, women they spend it on more positive things. Normally, the women will go look for healthier things. You know, they try to eat better. Even women, the moment they work, usually I remember now in Ethiopia in Addis Ababa, the women once they work,
Mhm.
they had little money in the evening, they would go for evening school to better themselves. We, because they want to better themselves for themselves to get a better job and also to better themselves for their families to support their families. So women, when they have work, they try to do it better because they also have the so-called soft skills and a way of thinking that is less competitive. It's not
Mhm.
always so because we've also had Margaret Thatcher, but normally women have this way of collaborating. It's like it's more of a community. So when a woman has power, she tries to use it for the community to make the community be better. She does not use it to show that her community is better than another community, which is a very masculine and patriarchal way of thinking. It's very, very much linked to colonialism. Colonialism too. Colonialism. It's about some countries, some men. mostly white men, because it was the white men that decided back then, deciding that they will make their country bigger, they will go get another country, they will become, greater, larger lands, etc. Women don't think that like that. Women think a lot about quality in the family. So women, countries who have educated women or women who work more, they also have a healthier society, because then women who are educated, they will tell their kids to eat better, to exercise better. They have the earning money. They have also the power to decide in the family what to do, so they can tell their kids you can do this. And they are also smart investors. They save money for the family. So this, generally speaking, women's rights are better. Now, going to what you were asking specifically, which is, did feminism bring, uh, which advantages it brought to women who are not white, or women who are living abroad? I will tell you, I think for me it would be that these ideas that were affirmed, that were included in international norms, international treaties, having those ideas uh, written, yes, as universal, but then trickling down into country laws, I think that's a great help, because many countries had to respect the international laws, so had to include also women's rights uh, in their legislations. So legislatively, speaking, this helped, um, and that is why many women, they would go to school. In the new world, women would go to school, would go to universities, would work, would vote. So I think it helped this way. It helped very much this way, that it was in the international treaties and it trickled out to the countries. This being said, uh, does white feminism always help women who are not white? Not always. I'll tell you something, like, for me, very weird. Like in Italy, uh, for many, many years, people from East Europe, from Ukraine, from Russia, from Romania, and Romania is now in the community, but before they were not, they would come
Mm,
to Italy and other European Western countries with their degrees. These women had degrees. They were highly qualified women, and they would be cleaning houses and being badantes, so taking care of the elderlies of other women.
yeah.
Among these other women, there were also the middle class ones. Some women, you say, okay, there were women who were not feminists, they were like normal women. They will tell them, I have a job, and they will work. Many white feminists who are very highly educated for many, many years, you can say decades, had their houses cleaned by ladies who were educated at high level. This is not a bad thing, huh? Because if you need a job, I will give you. So I'm not
Of
saying
course.
they should not have had done that. What I'm saying is, you did it the first year, the second year, the third year. If you are a real feminist, and feminism, I'll go back to my idea, is not only white, it's not only Western. It's about women's rights, universal. So if you think all women in the whole universe have the same rights, how come after 1 year that you know that women, none of you has said, "Let me help you get a degree"? None of you started advocacy, started campaigns to say, "Let us free these women. Let us
Mhm.
change the legislations." For example, in Italy, there are many engineers who've been cleaning houses for 20 years, women, or doctors. How come, if so, your feminism, without knowing it, because I don't think that these women are racist on purpose, is what is called it's called internalized racism. It's like when you have it and you don't even know it, because they will tell you, okay, I will help. If they say women doctor, that is like an African women doctor, they'll be like, wow, they'll be happy. But when they have an at-home clinic, they don't think about it. So I say, are you really convinced that the women's rights should be for all rights, or are you internally convinced that this women's rights should be only for white women? This is my question, and my question is what I'm asking myself, and I keep telling my people.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we founded our association, La Mia Parte, because we want people, not only women, even men, who have degrees in Italy to work in their profession. So we also do Italian specialized in the language. So this is why I'm saying it's also up to us women who are not white to tell those women you are wrong here. You should include everyone. In fact, the whole idea of intersectional feminism is that feminism should include all women, not only white women, all women's power. Another thing is uh, there should be sisterhood at international level. So if a woman in another country has issues, you see this the women here, the feminists will go out and will say, oh, in Iran, women are facing this and this and this, when the news are talking about that. But women are facing this everywhere. So you should not be following, you should go for Iran women, but you should also go for other women in the whole world, not only for what the Western media says. Okay? And that is being internationalist. Care about all women, not only about the women that are politically interested in this period of time. So another thing is letting them talk. Many speak for migrant women. Let these migrant women talk. Many speak for other women who are in other countries. And for example, we spoke a lot for Afghan women, you know, in their situation. Uh,
Mhm.
then when the West abandoned Afghanistan, nobody went of this feminist wave. 1 month we complained and then nothing happened. So it should be real. That's what I'm saying. It should be real and international, caring about women, not selling.
And it is in line with what you've just said. That's the reason why I asked the question. If for a fact we have evidence that we can point to because of feminism, other women outside of the European context are better off. That is yet to be seen from the things you explained, because speaking generally, almost everything is in order, everything is okay. It's like describing democracy. If you the the simple the simple definition of democracy, for instance, is having the ability to vote. That is the people of a given country deciding themselves, one man, one vote, deciding who should be their leaders, who should be their representative. If you turn the definition to suit me, because I believe democracy is like this, it become a different thing entirely. So if we said, using that analogy, if we said feminism is all about women's rights, and with things I have seen here in Europe, and the things I have seen where I'm coming from, and the things that we all know generally, one begs to ask the question, why is feminism, or how is feminism benefiting other non-white women, to be very honest? That is one
Yeah,
question that I believe we as a society, or whoever is beating their hands on their chest claiming to be a feminist, should genuinely ask themselves, because living in hypocrisy is not really a good thing to behold by those that are really
of
suffering.
course.
And to really
Well,
explain my point, I will make an example about the society that you and I live, Italy. I don't see any particular law apart from the welfare programs that are generally open to the female folks, which they partake from on an average. I don't see a particular law that favors a migrant male person than a migrant female person. The same law, the same way the law treats a Nigerian man is the same way they treat a Ghanaian woman. It does not make any distinction. So, really, Yohamin, if I came from Africa today and I have lived here in the last 5 years in Italy, I have seen the changes of law, cultural law, or whatever law that is there that is actually
Yes,
affecting my life as a migrant. Of what use
yes,
is feminism to me?
yes. Uh,
Meanwhile, I do
I,
not see female going down the street protesting to be able to protect my right as a woman. I'm
yes.
confused here. Imagine telling an African daughter today that just arrived in this European context. Let us even leave Africa, for instance. It's even too far away. In this very society that we live in, why should an African descent become a feminist like you?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. It just brings us back to what I was saying before. Yeah, why should an African woman be a feminist? Especially if she's a diaspora, if she has come here, if she has seen that she's been uh, treated uh, not equally even by other white feminist women. Because many people from the diaspora, even black Italians, sometimes they join the feminist movement and then they say, I cannot stay there because I feel that I am not recognized, my peculiarities are not
Wow. I
recognized.
I didn't even know about this. I just make my personal rough observation. I didn't even know there is already an evidence and experience of this nature. Thank you for sharing that with us. I didn't know about this even.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Like, and they understand this because they will say, I will go to this group, which is feminist women. I will say I'm a black Italian, and then I go there and my peculiarities are not recognized, and even there I am discriminated. So for me, I was also surprised because uh, I would not expect that from a real feminist. This still, I'm sorry that I will be very, very repetitive. It's just that I'm a very flexible person, but with principle and ideas, I have some liners. And I will go back to that because I repeat, I will still be a feminist because feminism is not something of the West. We don't have to think about it as white women's idea. We have to think about it. It's a movement that protects women's rights and human rights. I will be part of it and I will change it. I will apply it to myself in my life as I fit. I will not take it as it was first classical. I will not take it as the second wave only. I will not take it as the third wave because the third wave also includes other gender identity issues. It
Mhm.
includes the sex work debate. There's also a debate about sex work between feminists. Those who say a woman, her body should do her sex work, or those who say no, sex work is not good for your dignity, so she should not say it. So there's many layers of feminism, so you can't say it's like a democracy. There's many ways to apply it, there's many ways to better it. So as many things in my life, I say I believe in feminism as the first original idea of thinking women rights are human rights and women should have equality for social, cultural, economical, political issues. Not that we have to be equal to men. I always say I do not want to be equal to men or to be a man because equality should be about equal opportunity, but not about being the same. But still, I think you don't have to throw something away because it's not perfect. You have to work on it. Feminism is like democracy. It's not perfect, but I will not throw it away. I will work with it. I will change it. In fact, some people say black feminism. Some people um, say intersectional feminism because it should consider also other women. So they changed the name, but still believe that women's rights are human rights. So I'm telling you, if as a diaspora black woman in Italy, I say okay, I am a black Italian. I don't feel accepted by the feminist movement in all my beings. What will I do? I will speak up. I will talk to these people. I will tell them, please do consider this also. So what I will do is talk and tell them I agree with you on women's rights issues, but also do listen to me. And I'm telling you, this is not only with black feminists that's happening. It's also happening with classical feminists from the 60s, etc., who are old ladies now, and the very young generation. Because Italy has
Mm-hmm.
experienced those women who fought for the votes, real fighters uh, who had to close their femininity. So even if you go there, I am also a member. When I go there, like, if you have makeup, too much makeup, even is not really well seen. There's been the way where the women are like, I am independent, but I am also a woman, so I dress and put makeup as I want. And there is now the very new generation, they are like from 16, 20, 21,
Yeah.
who started calling themselves feminist again. Because before that, we had a generation in the last 15 years um, that were not fighting for women's rights anymore because they said in Italy we vote, we work, we can have an abortion, we can have freely sex. What more do we want? And they stopped fighting for their rights. And now in this last 2 years, if you have noticed in Italy, women's
Mm-hmm.
rights are being reconsidered. Lately they are saying that abortions cannot be had. There are many decisions by judges on abortion that they say if it was only 10 seconds, it's not okay. If it was only 20 seconds, it's not working. How was she dressed? So we're going backwards. Why is that? They saw that women have stopped fighting because they're like, it's all okay. So the new generation, those who are from 16 to 2021, is the generation that did not watch TV. So they were on social media. They also speak even English. They speak better English normally. In Italy, English is not that very important. This generation are going out because they have an international site. They go online. They see other. They're going out and they're saying, "I am a feminist," but they're being feminist in a new way, in a way that includes other women, in a way that says, "Let's speak other women." So I like this very very young women, and these very young women they don't speak to the others who are 60, 70 years old in Italy. And it's one of
Okay.
the things I
There
tell
is a
for
generational
me.
gap too.
Yes, and for me, I go among all. I go to the feminists who are black. I go to the feminists who are young. I go to the feminists who are 60 years old. Those who are 40 years old, uh, and I talk to all of them because for me, I want to see how they all think, and then I want to find my own angle. I think in life you should also
Of
find
course.
your own
Of course.
idea of reasoning. So for me, being a feminist should be not being a classical white feminist, but a diaspora woman should still fight even more than others because she's facing feminism in a fiercer way. Because a black woman uh, has two problems. She's black and she has two, black and women. Sorry for the word problem. I mean, the fact that you are black and the fact that you are women, it brings you the
No,
problem
I
of
understand. I understand you. I mean, it is for argument's sake. You are trying to explain yourself.
exactly,
So I believe our listeners will be
exactly,
able to understand it as well.
exactly. So for this, you are being judged doubly. You can ask any woman in Italy, any black Italian or any migrant woman who's going around with around if she's walking around somewhere where there's no men, a car will stop. It had happened to me 2, 3 times. I'm like, what the heck is happening here? Because if you have long braided hair, they think that you are a prostitute. Why? We don't know. We do not know.
That's
So
so true.
the and for me, like couple of times, I'm like, do you need like when somebody called me, you think that they need directions, so you just go and
Direction.
talk to them because you want to be polite. And then I'm like, what the heck is happening? So you can ask many women. I'm sure this has not happened to me. It has happened to my friends also. So if you are black, you are being judged by being black, and then you are being judged also by being a black woman. So if you are a black woman, it's like a double condition that puts more judgment on you. So they're gonna think that you are a prostitute. If you are not a prostitute, even there will be another other judgments on you for sure. Um, and this condition puts you uh, to live in prejudice as a woman, but also in more prejudice as a black woman. And you will
Yes.
suffer when you see that all these feminist white women also, they do not listen to you when they say, for me it happened. Okay, let me tell you something. It happened to me at work 2, 3 times that I had feminist colleagues that were really fighters, for women's rights, and they would
Mm-hmm.
do the same things they complained about to me, and then when they complained, I agreed with them, and I'm like, this is the same thing. If you say that these men are not listening to you, or giving attention to your words because you are a woman, I mean, even if they are aware they are women, so the men do not listen to them. Don't do the same thing to me. It's not that because I'm black you don't have to listen to me. Even if my idea seems out of the box, it is out of the box because culturally I am richer than you. You see things in a certain way, which is the Western way. Me, I see things the Western way and the non-Western way because being multicultural is a richness if you know
Of course.
how
A
how
huge
how
plus.
to take information from it. Exactly. For me, I
Absolutely.
only choose which is bad and which is good. I don't want to harm anybody, so I choose any cultural aspect that does not harm other people, and I apply it to myself, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is good. Which if I think it's bad, I don't apply. So if I see things from another way, please do listen to me, especially if you are working with migrant women or women who maybe they are Italian but they have an other origins, Arab origins or African origins. When I tell you this person sees things in a different way, let's consider this. Let's talk to her this way, not this way. Do listen to me, and they do not listen. So this is to tell you sometimes we talk about rights, we understand faults only when they are made to us, when we are victims, but we should also listen. I think this is a big problem. This is a big problem. People have stopped listening to other people. There's a lot of polarization, which is
That's so true.
poverty. It's mental
That's so
poverty.
true. Yes,
Yeah.
that's so true. That's so true. You made mention of the fact earlier on when you made an example of colonialism that the white men they left here, they decide to colonize other countries and the rest. There is just one thing that I do not agree with it. What I do not agree with it is that it is only white men that left. When it comes to colonialism, there is no distinction between men and women. Europeans came and they made a decision. They built a society in a society that was already existing and they colonized it. My country, Nigeria, the name was given to it by the girlfriend of not even official girlfriend, what they will call
Mm.
today a side chick, a lover, who was a
Yeah.
journalist. It was not even official wife, official girlfriend. It's the
I did not
person
know
that,
this.
yeah, of course, the person that he flirts with, he cheats with or whatsoever, that gave the name Nigeria that we use today. Because when she gave that name in her description that she wrote and everything, that became the name that we now use today, she was not yet official girlfriend or wife to Lord Lugard, that was the British colonial governor representative in my country as at then. Why am I saying
Yeah.
this? When the British were working in my country, the people that were working and everything, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the or what they now call home country in the UK today, Home Office, they were all populated with both British and men and women. There were no distinction between men and women when it comes to colonial masters in my country. And you cannot find any manifestation or demonstration in any European library today where European women came out and said enough is enough to colonialism. Even in the midst of feminism wave in Europe then, in France and everywhere,
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
evidence of this is there. So feminism, as far as I'm concerned, fine, I understand all your explanation. And I do buy the idea that you share that we should see it as a movement fighting for women's rights, which is a good thing. But I am not satisfied with it that they actually, with the approach that is being used even in today in 2024, that they do
Yeah.
actually think honestly about women that are non-white, or rather it's a fight that have instruments that are not adaptable to non-Western culture. This is how I would describe it in my opinion, from my observation. I am not saying that it's not a good thing. It's a good thing. It should be embraced for what it proposes to do. But
Yes.
it the I have not seen any shift in a direction that it will be really, really beneficial to black women in diaspora and not even to those in the motherland. I am saying this using primary example from where I live. In Italy, where I live today, they do not give house
Yeah.
to black women. They do not give houses. They don't rent houses to black men. This is not because they love or hate black men more than black women. They just don't do it. We are the same. They don't consider us as people to be given this thing. And there is no law officially promoted by maybe even the female prime minister or other categories of feminism in Italy and
Exactly.
everything
Yes.
that really pick up propose laws, try to amend laws to favor people that are really finding life difficult. And these things include both women and children. There is no particular law protecting us from all of these things, like they have in the United States, which even people here will point finger to. At least in the US, there is what they call Housing Act, whereby they
Yeah.
give, it depends on the number of flats. They make sure that they make some available at least to low income people and the black community as well. That is the purpose of the law. In the condominium, there is
Yes.
a way they do it. So that is to guarantee inclusive society with all the faults of the United States. But at least there are little things like that. And it surprises me to be living in a Western world as well, people that will easily go out to manifest because a black boy was shot in the US. They will be on the streets and everything. But the things that the people living in their midst that are here within your nose, women here can't find a house to keep their children and everything simply because they have the Africa sub-Sahara region is a disgrace to the society that we live. It is not a good thing, then I am asking, where are the feminists? I would have
Yes.
loved to see them on. I will be with them on the front line fighting for it. So that brings me to the question: even is there really a reason for feminists to exist today again? And I saying, what are they fighting for? Let me make a very simple analogy. Somebody fighting for the environment, the the kids
Yes.
you see on the road, they say that they are for environment, they block the road, they don't want the cars to pass and everything. At least you know what they are fighting for: environment.
Yes.
Somebody
Yes.
fighting for the sharks, the waves in the ocean, you know what they are fighting for. It is clear and precise. My question therefore is, what are the rights that feminists are fighting for? If our day-to-day life, the things that women faces are not even be tackled, these are things that we can make laws to amend. We are not doing it. So what are feminists fighting? What are the rights they are fighting for? Is it just a competition between men and women that have power, or is there really a genuine